Hello Dogs fans, welcome to another episode of After the Dogs Roar for 2017. The excitement is building because we are not far away from the AFL season for 2017 commencing. I'm kind of still in pre-season mode at the moment. I know we've got the women's going on at the moment, but there's nothing more exciting than the start of a brand new AFL season. And just to put it in a little bit of perspective here, this time in 2 weeks I'll be previewing the first game, the round one blockbuster between Collingwood at the MCG, and then this time in 3 weeks I'll be reviewing that game. So we are not far away from the season commencing. But in the meantime, we're still in JLT Community Series mode, and well, I'm going to start off this episode by overviewing our second pre-season game. It was in JLT Community Series Week 3. It was against the Brisbane Lions at Etihad Stadium on a Thursday night. I'll be reviewing that game. I'll then be getting stuck into the women's. Our women's side had their round 5 clash v Colton on Saturday morning at Icon Park, so looking forward to reviewing that and telling you what happened in that match. Of course, that will be followed by the round 5 votes for the After the Dogs Roar AFLW Best and Fairest Award, followed by a look at where we stand on the AFLW ladder. And then I'll get stuck into our last pre-season game. It's against the Gold Coast Suns. Looking forward to talking about that game. The side has also been announced for that game, so I'll be able to share with you who's in and who's out. And then after that, a preview of the AFLW Round 6 match for the Brisbane Lions, followed by the 5 fan questions to wrap up episode 6 of After the Dogs Roar. So a massive episode of After the Dogs Roar this week. Let's not waste any time. Let's get stuck into it, starting with an overview of our second pre-season game, which took place at Etihad Stadium against the Brisbane Lions. So, of course, our pre-season campaign got underway in Week 1 of the JLT Community Series against Melbourne at Whitten Oval. Of course, we lost that game that day against Melbourne. In fact, it was a game with some positives, some negatives, a lot to take out of the game other than the score. So, look, this second game for us, second pre-season game, was against the Brisbane Lions on a Thursday night, and we got off to a bit of a sluggish start, I must admit, in this game. The Lions kicked the first 2. We had a lot of loose men inside our defensive 50, which isn't really a good look, to be honest, especially if it's in a season proper game. We did, however, find a little bit of momentum later in the quarter and kicked 2 goals back, thanks to Stringer and Smith, who kicked those 2 goals to put us in front by a point in the first quarter. Now, there was a deliberate out of bounds, a questionable one, it must be said, which caused the Lions to lead by 6 points, and then another goal before the break. Gave the Lions a 12-point lead at quarter time. So the Lions had the upper hand at quarter time. They came out in the second quarter, and we only kicked 2 behinds in the second quarter, and they kicked 2 goals and 1 behind. So they outscored us in the second quarter and had not a big lead, but it was a comfortable lead at the time of 6-3 to 2-4, the Lions leading. So that was the half-time score, and the Lions kind of got away in the third quarter too a little bit, although we kind of stuck in the game at three-quarter time. We were 1-5-7, so we were able to kick a super goal, which did help us a bit, to the Lions 9-6. And then in the end, it was quite a narrow victory to the Brisbane Lions. I know a lot of people were saying, "Oh, we got smashed by the Lions," but it was a narrow kind of victory to the Lions, and obviously they'll take a bit of confidence out of that. And there were a little bit of things to work on from the game, but there were a lot of positives as well. And of course, we do know that the pre-season games, it isn't all about the score. The final score, the Western Bulldogs 1-6-13, 58, defeated by the Brisbane Lions 0-10-6. 66 there, the final score. The super goal kickers, Suckling was the only super goal kicker of the game. He kicked the super goal. And then the goal kickers from us, Jong, Stringer kicked 2 each. Clay Smith and Dale got on the board with singles. And then the best players, Picken, Jong, Dunkley, Suckling. Now, this is where the sad bit comes in from the game. And this is probably the worst thing to happen in the game. Riewoldt Smith, he suffered, I think he suffered an injury about 18 months ago that set him back. Well, he's been set back again with an ACL knee injury. He's out for the rest of the season. It's no doubt about that, which is very sad from our point of view. And, it's sad to see him on the sidelines once again. It is a bit of a shame, of course. Jordan Roughead also on the sidelines, not for as long as Riewoldt Smith, we hope. But very sad to see Riewoldt Smith do an ACL in that game. Nearly 5,000 people packed into Etihad Stadium to watch the game on Thursday night. Okay, on now to the AFLW League. Of course, our women's side is continuing through their 2017 AFLW season. And, they were up against Carlton in their round 5 clash on Saturday morning. And we had a quarter-time lead of 3-1 to 2-2 before Carlton took the lead by a goal at half-time, 5-3 to 4-3. They had the upper hand in the third quarter, and at three-quarter time we only scored 2 behinds in the third quarter to Carlton's a couple of goals or 3 goals to 1 behind, and the three-quarter time score was 7-6 to the Bulldogs 4-5. And then in the end, it was a narrow victory to Carlton. In the end, they were able to slug it out and win this match. The final score 8-6-54 Carlton to the Bulldogs 7-6-48. I believe this was the highest scoring women's game we've had this year. That's what I was reading anyway. So I guess well done to the two teams in this match. And unfortunately, it was a bit of a heartbreaking victory in some sense because we've been searching for a win since round 1, and to go down by a very narrow margin was a little bit heartbreaking in some sense. Of course, our season is more or less over now. We can't make that grand final. We probably had to win basically this week to give us a little bit of hope mathematically, but even so, it would have been a tough thing to do. So look, it's all about just playing out the rest of the season with a couple of rounds to go, and I guess experimenting and trying new things and just grinding out the season basically. So let's have a look at the goal kickers from our side. Blackburn kicked 3. She was outstanding. Lambert, Bailey, McDonald and also Lachlan got singles, and the best players Blackburn, Carney, Lampard, Callahan and also Lachlan, and a crowd of just over nearly 7,000 actually at Icon Park to watch this game between Carlton and the Western Bulldogs. So not the result we wanted. We've got 2 more games to go. A tough game next week, which I'll speak about very shortly. But let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into having a look at my round 5 votes from this match. Okay, so let's get into my round 5 votes for the After the Dogs Raw AFLW Best and Fairest Award. I start with my 1 vote. It went to Jamie Lampert. She kicked 1 goal, 1 behind, got a lot of the ball with 16 disposals, had 12 kicks, 4 handballs, 2 marks. I thought she was well deserving of at least 1 vote, and that's exactly what she gets. So well done to Jamie Lambert. Of course, that's her first vote for 2017 in this award. I've given Emma Carney, who has been in the voting every single week and continues to be in the voting this week with 2 votes. She got the highest disposals once again in this game out of any player, including the the Carlton players. She got the highest disposal numbers of 18 disposals. She got 14 kicks, 4 handballs, 6 marks. She's become a real influence, a real important player at our club, I feel. And I feel like with Katie Brennan, who's out, I feel like she's been the one of the leaders of the club now. She's an outstanding person, plays cricket, and is performing here for our Western Bulldogs side in the AFLW League. So she gets 2 votes, and then Ellie Blackburn, well deserving 3 votes. She kicked 3 goals, 1 behind, so she could have had 4. She got 16 disposals, 14 kicks, 2 handballs, 2 marks. She was probably one of the most influential players from our side this week. Of course, not enough to get us over the line, but she's well deserving of the 3 votes this week. So that is the votes. Let's now get on to the leaderboard now and see where players are standing after getting their votes for this week. Ellie Blackburn takes the lead. She leads by 1 vote on 12 votes to Emma Carney, who is on 11 votes. Katie Brennan is there on 2 votes, as well as Hannah Scott and Kirsty Lamb. Jamie Lambert, who of course polled 1 vote this week, is down there in last. So that is the leaderboard for the After the Dogs Roar AFLW Best and Fairest Award. Of course, we'll be doing the same for the men's when the season gets underway in a couple of. Okay, on now to having a look at where we stand on the AFLW ladder. We will have a quick look at this because it isn't really good viewing, let's be honest. We are down in 7th position. We are there with 4 losses and only the 1 win, which was against Fremantle. Of course, they're on the bottom of the table. They haven't won a game yet, so we can be thankful that we've actually won a game so far. We have got 4 points, and it's fair to say that we are not going to get anywhere near that top 2 this season. So look, we can put a line through this season in some way. And use the next couple of rounds to get better, improve, and maybe find a win. Who knows? So, yep, we're down in 7th position. Unfortunately, with only with the 1 win, and yeah, won't be making the finals this year, unfortunately. Okay, on now to having a look at our last pre-season game for 2017. This is it. This will be our final pre-season game. We've got a week off the next weekend, and then the next weekend we're into the 2017 season. Of course, we verse Collingwood in our round 1 match. I'll be talking about that in 2 weeks' time. But our last match is at Metricon Stadium against the Gold Coast Suns. This game starting at 5:50 p.m. Melbourne time on Thursday the 9th of March. Of course, you can watch all the action on Fox Footy. And for those who have free-to-air, don't worry, our season opener against Collingwood will be on free-to-air in 2 weeks' time. So for those who haven't watched the Dogs at all throughout the pre-season, you'll be able to see them for the first time in 2 weeks' time. But the side has been announced for this game. Bob Murphy has returned alongside Marcus Bonampelli, who was a late withdrawal against the Brisbane Lions. Had a bit of a niggle, I heard. Matthew Boyd, Luke Dalehouse, Lockie Hunter, Zane Cordy, Fletcher Roberts, Tom Liberatore, Shane Biggs, Caleb Daniel and Jason Johannesson. Of course, the Northern Smith from last year's grand final have also been named following that loss to the Brisbane Lions last weekend. It's looking like a pretty good side, and it's of course a side of 27. So looking forward to the Thursday night's match. And on now to our round 6 AFLW clash against the Brisbane Lions at South Pines Sports Complex on Saturday the 11th of March, starting at 11:05 a.m. Melbourne time. You can watch all the action on Fox Footy. This is our second last AFLW game for 2017, so do try to I guess watch it, and hopefully we can get a win. Although the Brisbane Lions are going very, very well. They haven't lost a game in the season so far and are looking very poised to host the women's grand final, which is in 2 weekends' time. But Katie Brennan, I believe, may make a return this weekend. So that is some promising news there from a Western Bulldogs perspective. Okay, Dogs fans, time to finish off the show now with the fan favourite segment, the 5 fan questions. This is where I get to answer questions asked by you, the viewers, about our beautiful club, the Western Bulldogs. I picked the best 5 and I answer them here on the show. So let's get stuck into it, starting with the first question from Dean. With Roughead and Campbell out with injury, is it too soon to throw young English into the ruck? I talked a little bit about this last week. Was very interested in seeing how young English would go in the game against the Brisbane Lions. You might remember that I was expressing my excitement on last week's episode. It was very exciting to see him in action in his first game. I thought he did okay. He only got the 5 hit-outs, and if you compare it to someone like Stephen Martin, he got 31. Obviously, he's still an emerging ruckman. He is very, very tall in height. He's still emerging. Look, if Campbell and Roughead are both out with injury, I wasn't actually aware that Campbell was out with an injury. I thought that was all good. But anyway, if Campbell and Roughead are both out, then I guess you kind of have to put English in the ruck. Although I'm probably thinking that Tom Boyd may take most of the ruck until Roughead gets back or something like that. And they'll probably have English in the side as kind of maybe a backup. I don't know, but I'm expecting that Boyd will probably be, even though I'm not too keen on it, but I'm expecting that Boyd will probably be in the ruck, a fair bit more now that Roughead and Campbell are both out. And I think he's actually enjoying it in the midfield as well. I was actually reading today that he is enjoying the ruck role as well as the forward role. So to answer your question, is it too soon? I think it kind of is, but I think he's going to get a lot better once the season goes on. He's only a young guy. He'll improve. He'll probably be getting more than 5 hit-outs very, very soon. Another question from Dean, which I found quite interesting. Smith and Pickham were our most effective forward players in the final series. Surely they have to be the first 2 picked in the forward line in 2017. I must say I'm a little bit disappointed in myself last week because I got a question about the forward structure, and I actually left these 2 out because they can play other positions. But Clay Smith definitely has to be in there. It's no question about that in the forward line. He is an absolute gun, and I can't believe I missed him out. I'm still in a little bit of a pre-season mode at the moment. I'm still getting going in this. I'm still getting a warming up before the season commences, but Clay Smith definitely has to be in there. Pickin, he's obviously in there as well, although he could probably play other positions such as the wing and even in the midfield. But yeah, definitely these 2 most definitely have to be somewhere around that forward line this year because they were outstanding during the final series. And Clay Smith was absolutely outstanding since he came back from his injury. So that was the best part about Clay Smith. Pickett, of course, an outstanding player. He has been for some time, and he showed his true colours in the grand final and throughout the final series last year. So you're definitely right there, Dean. They probably do have to be the first 2 picked in our forward line. Of course, you can probably multitask and put Pickett somewhere else, but Clay Smith definitely one in there, and one that I mistakenly missed out last week. Tracy asks, how will Bob's fitness hold up in the season? Look, I'm hoping that it will hold up quite well. I'm sure he's been training for a fair bit now since coming back from that ACL. So look, I'm sure he's been having a big pre-season, and I'm sure his fitness will hold up. I wouldn't be surprised if there's the odd game or 2 that he misses because he's he needs to recover a bit more because obviously he's in that older age now. But I think it will hold up just fine, Tracy. I wouldn't be too concerned. Obviously, we have to manage his workload though, and by doing that, he will hold up this season. His fitness will hold up. Nick asks, is the Bonapelli injury worse than they are telling us? No, I don't think so. I think he is fine. I think he just had a little bit of a niggle on Thursday night, and shouldn't risk players in these pre-season games, and that's exactly what the club didn't want to do on Thursday night. So that's why he was pulled and he was a late withdrawal. He is named in the side this week. I think if it was a major injury, then he wouldn't be named in the side on Thursday night for our final pre-season game. So look, I'm very confident that he's fine. He probably just had a niggle at training or something, and it's best to be safe than sorry, and that's exactly what happened last Thursday night. So, no, look, I don't think the injury is worse than they are telling us. And I think if it was worse, I think the club would tell us. I don't think, with media these days, I don't think it would be a secret just at the club. Last but not least is a question from Jen Evans, who asks, out of the new kids, who do you think will make regular games, if any? Look, the only person or player I can really think of that will get regular games this season is probably Tim English. I think I can't see any of the other players getting a game this season unless we get a lot of injuries. But I think we have a lot of squad depth this year that they'll probably get the odd one or two, but I don't think they'll be able to fit in as regular players in 2017. So, look, I think Tim English might be the only kid who gets regular games this season. That's because Roughhead and Campbell are both out at the moment, in particular Roughhead. So, I think English is probably the only player at the moment who will probably get regular games in season 2017. We do have a lot of good kids, though, that we drafted last year, and of course, they're probably packed away for the future at this current stage. And that's a wrap for episode 6 of After the Dogs Roar for 2017. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Of course, don't forget to like, comment, share this video, subscribe for more episodes of this lovely show. This is probably my favourite show, my most loved show that I love presenting. It's just a fantastic show to present each and every week. We're not far away now from the season, and well, it's going to be so good once that ball is bounced in our first season game. So looking forward to round 1, and looking forward to presenting another episode of After the Dogs Roar next week. Until then, enjoy the weekend's games. Of course, our women's side and our men's side are both in action. So until next week, I'm Jacob. Go Dogs. Bye for now.